What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Crazy Face Uno podcast, where everyone has a story and everyone's story matters. What's your story? And as always, I'm your host, Shane McNeely, and boy, are you in for a treat today. It is my honor and privilege to introduce my guest today, Kim Burke. Welcome, Kim. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Shane. I am honored and super excited to be with you.
Kim, we first met, I don't even know how much. I've talked about it a little bit maybe, but I used to have my real estate license, and I was a personal assistant, and I was on a team with a gentleman named Peter Everest, and I met you through him. And that was kind of how we first were introduced, because you work for LeaderOne Financial, which is a lending, mortgage lending company. Is that correct?
Oh, I lost you.
Yeah, I had an Amber Alert. It just popped up on my phone. Yeah. I silenced it, and I was like, well, maybe I should have read. I mean, I'm inside, so I'm not going to be able to see that. I'll check it out later. So you work for LeaderOne Financial, which is a mortgage lending company. Is that how you would describe LeaderOne?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes. So?
And my wife and I, we bought our first house, and we went through you and used your services at LeaderOne, and we love you. You're a great woman, and you're fantastic. So,
well, we love you guys too.
Yeah.
We all remember working with you guys and helping you into your first home. That's such a life-changing moment for people, and we just feel really lucky when we get to be a part of it.
Yeah, and you guys get to do that every day. That's something you get to do. And be a part of such a. I'm sure you see every end of that spectrum because, I know Dana was super nervous, my wife, and it's just a big step in life sometimes, and you're taking out a large financial risk in some ways, but all for beautiful reasons and generally. Are you there, Kim?
Yes, I think I lost you again.
Oh, no.
No, it really is. Sometimes we get so caught up in the day-to-day minutia of it all that we have to remind ourselves to step back and look at what each one of our clients is experiencing. And it's such a huge moment in our lives. What do we do in our lives? We get a job, we get married, we buy a house, and we have kids. So to be a part of that moment in a person's life, we just don't take it for granted. And that's
awesome.
We really, pride ourselves in making that experience the best it can be.
Yeah, and one thing that I know we love so much was just the human connection. We didn't feel like a number. We didn't feel like, it was just about money. We felt like, you answered our questions, you wanted the best for us. And I know we've talked several times, but I know that that's something that's important to you as well. And I think it sets you guys apart, at least in my experience and from what I understand or what I've experienced, sets you guys apart from other places and other people.
Thank you. Yeah. Everything in life, it seems like, is becoming automated.
Yeah.
And for us, I think there's two ways that our industry can go. It can become more and more automated, or can become more and more personal.
Mm-hmm.
And with a decision like this, to me, it's just so much more than a click of a few buttons.
Yeah.
And we're so glad that you guys felt that way, because that's exactly how we want you to feel.
Yeah. Yeah. How long have you been working for LeaderOne?
Funny you should say that, because right before you called me, my dog was having a complete panic attack because there was someone at the door, and it was this lovely man with a huge bouquet of flowers to congratulate me on my 5th anniversary of at LeaderOne.
Yay! Congratulations.
Yay!
I wrote down 2014, but you never know if that's correct or not. But yeah, that's awesome. Today's the 5th year anniversary.
My 5th year. Yeah, it's so cool. And it's fun to be chatting with you about it because it makes me feel a little nostalgic about, how far we've come in the last 5 years. And boy, on this day 5 years ago, I certainly could never have predicted where I'd be today.
Yeah, I'm sure. And so we also had one of your former employers, Scott. He was Scott Hoffler. He was on the podcast a while back, and he was on here, and he was one of the people that was helping with our transaction and our financial mortgage, and so that's cool. Like you've evolved throughout, staff, and you've evolved and kind of helping people develop as their, he mentioned you as well on the podcast. And I think that that's so huge in life in general. And just having those people that want the best for you, both as an employer and, the services that you go into. And, you just said it, that would have never guessed you'd have been where you are today. What do you attribute some of that success to, some of that your growth, and like just who you are as an individual in your position?
Wow,
that's a lot. I know.
That's a lot. It really is.
I just threw about 3 different things at you, so.
And really, it's all the little things. It's the big things and the little things.
Yeah.
I got into the industry right out of college in 1998. So It's been a long journey. And
you studied business in college, is that right?
I did, yeah. I went to the University of Wisconsin in River Falls because they were the only school at the time that had any type of a concentration in real estate. So I ended up with I don't think it was a minor, but it was some type of a concentration in real estate because I knew that's where I wanted to be. I just didn't know exactly where I fell into that world. But this is a grueling industry. It will test you.
Yeah, for sure.
And I will never forget at my very first job interview, the woman who her husband owned an incredibly successful mortgage company in Vadnais Heights at the time. And she looked me straight in the eye and said, "We are going to know in 2 weeks if you're going to make it in this industry or not." Oh,
geez, that's not intimidating.
Right? Yeah. But I knew at that moment that I was going to do it. And boy, it is as challenging as it is rewarding. And I remember many days asking myself, what am I doing? Why am I working so hard? And over the last 5 years, I've been able to say, this is exactly why I did all those things that I did and went through the challenges and experiences that I did to have this amazing opportunity that I have now.
That's so great. That's so awesome. So you said when you're talking about going to school and studying business that you wanted to get into real estate, you wanted to get into that world. What led you that direction? How did you know that was your calling, or what was your draw to that field?
I'd love to say that I had some amazing drive or passion or epiphany at some point in my life, but I can say that from a really weird perspective, real estate has always interested me. And even when I was really young, we would get the little newspaper and I would always look at the real estate listings. Mm-hmm. It's always just held this mystique for me that I knew I wanted to be a part of. But I never quite knew exactly how that would come about. I thought I'd be a real estate agent. I thought for some time I would be an architect. So all sorts of different facets. And then truly, when I graduated from college, I was looking through the want ads because I'm so old that at my time when you wanted a job, you actually looked in the newspaper.
I feel like I was in that transitional period where that became obsolete, but I remember that too when I was younger. But.
Right. So I found this job posting for a mortgage loan processor for $9 an hour, and I just applied for it, and
Yeah.
that's where I began, actually.
So that was straight out of college.
Right out of college.
Wow.
Literally within a week of graduating from college, I was in the midst of a mortgage revolution. I mean, that was a time when interest rates were dropping, and I was watching just massive amounts of business come through this little organization, and it was baptism by fire all the way.
Yeah, I'm sure. So you've made it through. You've seen a lot of transition, or a lot of different parts of this industry in general. 2007, 2010, that range, when the kind of the bubble, we talk about the bubble, or the economy kind of took a downfall. The recession. Did that affect you? What was things like before that? Like what was that experience like?
That to experience that was probably the most scary and humbling experience in my career.
Yeah.
In 2002, my husband at the time and I just kind of decided to drop everything and move to Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And the mortgage industry was booming, so I was able to secure a job really quickly.
Yeah.
And in 2004-ish, 5-ish, one of the ladies at the company I was working for said, I'm going to go and open my own mortgage company, and I want you to be a part of it. So it was incredible to really come from the grassroots of a startup organization.
Yeah.
Where we walked into this ugly, awful looking warehouse type building, and she had this vision, and she was laser focused, and what she created, and I was fortunate enough to be a part of, was a thriving mortgage company that we grew from about 4 or 5 of us to, there was at least 30 or 40 of us by the time all was said and done. And we marched headfirst into that recession, and slowly, one by one, we had to bring our organization down to a smaller and smaller group until we no longer could function, and at that time I had a 1-year-old daughter, and no more salary, no more income.
That's scary.
Oh gosh, it was scary. But I persevered in other ways through continuing to work in the industry as an assistant to another top producing loan officer, and everything that we experience, personally and professionally, I think just leads us to greater things. And at the time, of course, I couldn't see it, but where that was leading me to was a place where I knew that it was time for me to take on my own risk and begin a new venture as a loan officer, and move into that commissioned world, out of the safety of the operations world, and into a sales position. And what an amazing opportunity it's been for me.
Yeah, that's so cool. That's crazy. That's definitely one of those, like, you've got a family, you've got a new daughter, you've got, this whole other side to think about in the midst of like a tumultuous time. And man, we just moved, Dana and I just moved to Florida, and we kept our house. So we still have our house in Minnesota. We're renting that out, but we've got our little dog, but it's just me and her, and it's hard just in general, transition like that and stepping out, and it's a great opportunity for us both. And this has opened the doors for, us being able to talk right now through this podcast and through Crazy Face Uno, and, cool. And what we're trying to create. And it's created an opportunity for Dana to, hit her stride in her work place and to be the amazing woman that she is and growing into the future roles and her goals that she has. But we don't have that child, we have our dog. We're actually going away this weekend to Miami. We're going to take a couple days to ourselves and
Awesome.
kind of relax, and we don't have anybody to watch him. So I actually shed a couple tears last night when I was like, I'm just worried about him. He's
I know.
he's like my buddy. Like we spend all day
Yes.
together. Like we've man, he's like, he's my family, he's like so
Yes.
important to me.
No doubt.
And just putting him in the hands of someone else, in the hands of a stranger. He's a pit bull breed, he's an American Staffordshire Bull Terrier, and so they get a bad rap, and unfortunately, and very misunderstood. And I'm like, just like, if anything happens to him, like, I'm like, it stresses me out,
I
but it's
know.
totally
I know.
different than having a family, having a child that you just brought into this world. So I say all that I commend you. I think that that's really amazing to have that courage and have that strength and to be brave to step out and to kind of chase your own dreams in the midst of all of that.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, the love of something that fully depends on us changes us in many ways, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well put. If we go all the way back, let's take it way back to childhood. And if you look back in your childhood, how would you describe yourself as a child, or your life growing up as a child?
Oh gosh, I came from that perfect little white picket fence family, very traditional.
And you're from Minnesota, correct?
I am. I grew up in a little town called Scandia.
Okay.
I actually had an argument with my dad a while back about the population of Scandia because I thought it was still 450, and apparently it's grown to 3,000. So,
oh wow, look at that, moving up in the world, huh?
Yeah, but it was just a sweet little life we had. My dad worked as one of the first computer programmers of the
Oh wow,
computer generation, which was
very
kind
cool.
of a cool thing.
Yeah.
That I didn't realize at the time, but now I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And my mom did what I still consider to be the most impossible job of all, which is to stay home with 2 children and try to maintain any sense of sanity.
Yes.
Oh.
Can't.
So I was very lucky, and we definitely had our own challenges to overcome as a family, for sure, as everyone does. But
Yeah.
One of the things that I was fortunate for was my dad always encouraged me that I could be anything I wanted to be. So there was never a question in my mind that I had the ability and capacity to become anything that I wanted to be.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I didn't see women in careers or career focused. So I didn't know what that looked like.
Yeah.
And for me, defining myself as a career woman and also as a mother has been hard. And I've had to overcome a lot of my own kind of guilt and shame for not being a full-time mom, because that's all I ever knew. And learning what that means to me has been a pretty big thing for me to overcome. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
This is not the same. But the way I relate that to is the reverse, right? Like I'm very dependent upon Dana right now. And like our roles are completely reversed in so many ways. Like I'm the emotional, like, whatever person. She's the like stable, like person in our relationship. She's financially, she supports our family. And it's there's this deep rooted desire for myself to be the provider. And
sure,
similar to what you just said, it's like that example. That's like just the example that we've always had, right? And to step outside of that and to look differently, like you were just talking about, even like as a woman, to look in, and you mentioned it too, that maybe one of the hardest jobs was your mom, staying home and taking care of the
Mm-hmm.
family and doing that. And it's not undermining that role in the family, but
Yeah.
it's hard to see the path to a different way of life when you haven't seen
Yeah.
that. And
Yeah.
and I think the women in today's society are finding their way through that, and finding and claiming and claiming their stake in this world as leaders and as career women and strong women in the workplace. And I think that's important.
It is. Yeah. But, in the same respect, we all, and you included, have this new opportunity to support each other.
Yeah,
Um, and my dad had dreams of being a great inventor, but he was tied to being our sole breadwinner.
sure.
So now, with more and more opportunity for all of us, it also gives, us and people like you the opportunity to live
Yeah,
your dream.
yeah.
So I love that. I love that about where we're going um, in
Same.
our lives and in careers.
Yeah, it's just equality. It's opening the
Yeah.
doors for both sides of the spectrum. Like, hey, if you want to stay home and you want to be a stay-at-home father, or you want to, take a risk and be whatever, like, it's not the culture is shifting, like that
Yeah.
mindset is shifting to where it can go either way, and it's still got a little ways to go for sure, but yeah, I think you're right. I think it's beautiful and it's challenging, but I think that all great things are.
Yeah, that's so funny. I was actually talking to Scott this morning, who you mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
who is one of my dearest friends,
Mm,
and
such a good
we were
guy.
talking about some challenges, and he said it perfectly. If I'm not challenged, I'm not in the right place.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just so
Same.
true. We
Yeah.
have to remind ourselves of that all the time when we're feeling overwhelmed and, like we just can't overcome our challenges, that then we're in the exact right place.
Yeah. Now looking, you mentioned your childhood and these two people, your father and your mother. Would you call them, the most influential in that part of your life, or are there other people that maybe influenced you throughout that time of your life as a child?
As a child, I was very, very protected. My parents really were my main influence, but they were also my security system.
Yeah.
Um, and they gave me the foundation, like I said,
Mm-hmm.
to really launch and be the best that I could be. It just took me about 40 years to figure out what that meant.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think some people figure it out a lot earlier in life, but
Sure.
you know, there throughout my life, and I can just look back, especially after college and all of the life experiences I was able to have, and there have been so many people, and it's funny because the more I push myself to grow and challenge myself, the more I find myself surrounded by the people that are there to push me and challenge me,
Mm.
but also like love me exactly where I am,
Yeah.
which is awesome.
Those are the most special people.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
have those too, and it's the ones that no matter where I'm at in the world, they're the ones that I lean on and I go to and be like, bro, I don't know what's going
right.
on, or like, whoo, like, I found myself in Minnesota for that very reason, one of those people, my best friend Sam Palumbo, and him, why don't you just come here and figure it out? Like, I had no idea what I was doing with my life, and
Yeah,
like I wanted to step out and do something new, and oof. But yeah, those people are great.
they are. They are, and I think that's a sign of growth is when we make that really just aware decision that those are the only people we're going to let be in our life.
Yeah, those healthy boundaries. Those healthy... Yeah. So as you kind of went into high school, we already established like you knew kind of what you wanted to do going into college. But what was there anything that you can recall that kind of like led you in that direction? I just always find it fascinating for the people that knew what they wanted to do.
Oh,
I feel like there's so many people that go to college, and there's people on both sides of the spectrum, right? But
yeah.
you go in, and I went in as a nursing major my freshman
Wow.
year.
That's so cool.
And then I switched to adolescent studies and youth ministry. And by the time I got to my senior year, I was ready to do something different, even beyond that. So it was one of those things where I was like, oh, geez, like, here we go, But the theme was always, I wanted to help people. And, that's still been a theme throughout my entire life, and something that I focused on. Like, I want to help people. I want to do good. I want to make a difference in the world. And were there those types of things, or were there anything that kind of led you into the business, the real estate? You mentioned, was it architecture?
Yeah.
Was it houses in general? Like, what was the draw?
I think it was, although it doesn't hurt that I had a monster crush on my partner in my architecture class in 10th grade, but
definitely helps.
No, you know what? I'm not a student. I'm a workhorse.
Yeah.
And from the minute that it was legally possible for me to have a job, I had one.
Yeah.
And my mindset, and looking back, I would look at this differently now, but my mindset at the time was just to get school out of the way so I could work.
Yeah.
And, I figured out in high school how to go to college early. And then I figured out in college how to get college out of the way early. And the whole time I was in school, in college, I was working about 40 hours a week. So
wow.
I was not a ton of fun. I was not that girl. I wish I could tell myself to just loosen up a little and have a little more fun, but that just wasn't
hard.
where I was at. Yeah. So, but so it was the college experience, but it was more so the work experience that led me to where I am. And I knew, I didn't know where I wanted to go then. I still am learning every day where I want to go, but I knew that if I did the best I could do in everything I did, that was what I needed to do to get me where I was going. I just had no clue where I was going. But now I can see it. It's almost like now I can look back and I can see that exact path. Just like for you, at the time it felt like you didn't know where you were going.
Yeah.
But that was the exact journey you needed to go on to get you where you are today.
Yeah, we've talked about that a lot on the podcast as well. Just one of my podcast guests, Becky Jaworski, and we were talking about how these like little things, these people that you meet, the experiences you had, like, hindsight going back, like, would I go to the college that I went to? Maybe, I don't know, probably not, not where I'm at now. Yeah. But at the same time, it's like, I met my best friend there. I met, the people that we were just talking about that I like can confide in, Tony and Sam, and these are my best friends. These are the guys that I lean on, and the ones that I continually go back to the well, and the ones that challenge me, that push me, and those times have cultivated the person that I am today. I wouldn't be who I am today if it wasn't for that time. So it's so hard. There's things that I obviously appreciate. There's things I don't, but would I want to change that? I don't know, because it's led me to where I am today and who I am today. And so, yeah, there's just those things throughout life that tend to do that.
Yeah, for sure.
What was your first job?
Amazing. My very first job was shelving books at the library.
Nice.
Yeah.
Mine, I worked at, I mowed lawns. I was kind of the same way in some ways. Like I mowed lawns. My dad was actually in real estate for a little while. And so the real estate company, Century 21 was the real estate company he worked for, but they would have, lawns that they needed mowed or whatever. And the owner would be like, he would give them to me to mow. And so I'd make,
Oh,
$20, whatever it was, to mow a lawn once a week. So bring in some money. And then I worked at a Tropical Snow, which is like a shaved ice, type
yes.
place.
I love
So,
it.
yeah. Yeah. Just been working, I know, ever since like it's legally available to work. And even before then, I
Yeah.
was always hustling, some
Yeah.
way, somehow. So
Yeah.
I think
That's
those
so
are
cool.
like character builders. You
No
talked
doubt.
about how you're a workhorse, and in your industry, one thing that was always amazing, to be completely honest, was you work at all hours of the day. And one of the reasons I in a lot of ways got out of the real estate world was I want boundaries for my life and for my
Yeah.
family. And I'm sure that you struggle with that in some ways
Hmm.
because it's a very demanding, and people are looking at houses at all hours of the day, and
Yeah.
it's 7, 8 o'clock at night, and you get that email, you get that text like, "Hey Kim, can you send us over, like the financials for this house?" And
Yep.
it's just demanding. I guess that set the stage for kind of like where you're at today.
Yeah, and that truly is the biggest thing that I am challenged by in my career is the lack of boundary.
Yeah,
Um,
I can see that.
the freedom to be in control of my life and my schedule for in a lot of ways is amazing. But yeah, it's kind of like that doctor that is on call 24/7 but never
Yeah,
quite just to put away the pager.
yeah,
um, it can be a big challenge, and I'm consciously working towards reining that in by developing my team, and
sure.
just brought in a new gal to our team, Louise, who is incredible.
Awesome.
um,
Welcome, Louise.
Welcome, Louise. And, our little team is a powerhouse. I've just
Hmm.
never had an opportunity to be on a team like ours. And, I couldn't say there isn't one of us on our team that isn't dialed in 24/7.
That's awesome.
But you know what? We do it in a way of, because we care about and respect each other.
Yeah.
And it's funny because the mentality is, well, I can jump in and do it so that, one of my other team members doesn't have to. So we're all like pouncing on stuff.
Yeah. Which is good because it shows the camaraderie, and man, it's not so much, my experience is it's not so much like what I do as far as work and my job. It's the people I surround myself with
Yes.
that like if you can't work well with the people around you, and like you're not enjoying those people that you're working with, and man, move on. It's just like it makes it miserable,
Yes.
and it makes it not fun, and life isn't all just like roses and sunshine and fun all the time. That sometimes you have to put your head down and get to work, and I realize
Yeah.
that, and I think that I hope that more people are realizing that too. You can have your dreams, you can chase your dreams, but you also have to work hard at times. But it's the people that are around you, and when you have each other's back, it makes it
Mm.
so much better.
Oh, so much better. I mean, I learned the hard way what constitutes a poor team. And I
Yeah,
took that with me. And when I was given an opportunity to start to grow a team, um, I had really specific ideas of what made a good team member, and it's a lot different than what a lot of people think.
yeah,
Um, and boy, oh boy, 5 out of 5, we're just, it's just the most incredible team I've ever had the opportunity to be a part of, and we're a
that's
little family.
that's awesome.
And yeah, it's an honor for sure.
Is there like leadership or training materials, or people that you kind of lean on, books that you've read that have helped you throughout that process of being, a leader, and kind of cultivating that environment for your team?
Um, a lot of it is the experiences I've had.
Sure.
From the very beginning, I can remember the way I was led in my when I shelved books at the library, and
Yeah.
when I was the salad girl at a restaurant,
Yeah.
and then going, working as like the lowest level processor in a mortgage company, and how I felt in the ways that I would be led, good and bad. And then, it was those feelings of, I can still put myself into that position, that entry level processor position, and remember the ways I was led that made me better. And that's what I try to bring to my team.
Yeah.
Is remembering that in my leadership. So, our team, we're empowered. And I say, when you ask who the leader is on our team, we all point at each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's true. It's really true. We all lead in our own ways.
Uh-huh.
And we're all given that autonomy and trust.
Yeah.
That we know without question that each one of us is going to execute at the highest level possible. So we just let each other go for it.
That's so cool. That's awesome. Yeah, I worked at, coming out of college, I went and worked at a nonprofit called Invisible Children. If you've been listening to the podcast, if you're listening right now, you've heard me mention Invisible Children a lot. A lot of my guests that's where they came from. But I love that part of Invisible Children. I just feel like they fostered that empowerment piece. It's like, oh, you've got this strength, you've got this skill, like go for it. Hand it over and be like, all right, make it your own and go for it. Here's kind of the parameters, but we trust you. And I think it's a growth opportunity. It allows you to hit your stride, to be vulnerable and be like, man, I don't know what I'm doing now. Like I need help, and not in a good way, because I think that some places you're like boxed in, and it's just like moving target sometimes, where it's like hard to hit that target that people are going for, versus having this like, hey, here's the framework, go get it, go crush it. And I love that. I think that's great. I think that's a help. It feels like that's one piece of a healthy work environment.
Yeah. And don't you think it just brings out the very best in people?
Yes.
When you say, I trust that you've got everything it takes to do this and do it well.
Yeah.
And you just sit back and watch them do it. It's amazing.
It is. It is. Tell me about your family. I know you mentioned you have a daughter. Mm-hmm. Do you just have one child, or how many kids do you have?
No, I've got Piper. She is 12. I
love that name. That's a great name.
Thank you. When I first heard that name, I thought that embodies like a person with spunk.
Yeah, I feel that too. Yeah.
Fire and personality, and it is all of those things and more.
That's awesome.
So yeah, she just turned 12. Isaac, he is 8.5. I have my wonderful partner Barry. We've been together for about 2 years.
Nice.
Yeah. Lucky, our fierce and loyal dog, and Tiger the cat.
There we go.
Quite
Tiger.
A bunch over here.
That's awesome. How has their presence, I've mentioned already in this podcast, I don't have kids, but I can imagine that changing the way you see the world. How has having kids changed the way you see the world?
Oh, wow. Well, becoming a parent, it's unexplainable. And you can try to describe that feeling, but it's impossible until you actually experience it. And then, your whole, I don't want to say your whole focus in life becomes your children, because it doesn't always. And I don't think it should, but your purpose definitely changes. And, my goal is to show these guys that anything is possible through my actions, and encourage and lift them up to be exactly the people that they were meant to be. One of the challenges that I've always faced is I've always, or in the beginning of my adulthood, I surrounded myself with people that always told me I should and could be better. And sometimes to a, a great degree, but also sometimes to a place where I never felt like I was quite good enough.
Yeah.
So one of the things I really feel strongly about is helping my children feel and understand that they are good enough exactly the way they are made.
Yeah, man, I'm getting emotional just hearing that. That's awesome.
Yeah. We all need to learn that, right? I need to remind myself of that every day.
Same. I'm my hardest critic. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Yes, we are. We are. And then, the balance is finding those people in our lives, I think, that encourage us to be our best.
Yeah.
But love us exactly the way we are.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Have you, so like with your kids, do you giving them that space and giving them that knowledge that they're good enough just as they are, there's this like fine balance though, right, of like also challenging them. How do you manage that little fine line there, that balancing act?
Oh, terribly.
Thank you for your vulnerability and honesty.
Oh, I can crush mortgages all day long, but, ask me how to be a good parent and I'll be in the audience. Yeah, it is my biggest challenge.
Sure.
But, a lot of it is being vulnerable with them too.
Yeah.
And that's been a huge thing for me. I've never really been a vulnerable person. I've always kind of had this wall around me. And I credit a lot of the people in my life right now, including my partner, who have just allowed me the opportunity to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And
good for you.
Yeah, to really just say this is me, and I'm broken a little, and I'm far from perfect, but when I feel like when I can do that and show that to my kids, then they see it's okay to be that way, and we're still awesome just the way we are.
Yeah. That's awesome. Kim, do you have hobbies that you enjoy outside of LeaderOne and mortgages and financing?
That's so funny because when people ask me that, I think I get that same feeling that you were describing when you're like, I never felt like I had this, this direction this clear direction. I have that, in my hobbies. I don't have this passion for any one thing, but I still get so much joy and fulfillment just out of the experience of life in general.
Yeah.
That I think that's where my passion lies, in living and
making
finding
the most.
Making the most out of what we have. We've been given a really beautiful life. I've been given a beautiful life, and I can get caught up in the minutia of it really easily and let it stress me out. And then just learning to take that step back and remember to enjoy it is important for me. I learned several years ago to wake up every morning and embrace my morning. So I love my little morning routine of
that's great.
Walking the dog and doing my little yoga exercises and having my breakfast and my coffee. I wouldn't miss it. I won't miss a day of it. But
that's awesome.
That I think is what I'm passionate about, that. And then it creates a good day and life for all of us.
That's awesome. What are your goals and ambitions? Do you have like next stage of life? Like when you look into the future, what are you aiming for? Is there anything in particular?
Yeah, that's such a great question. I've been struggling with that one because I always have felt like I need to have a next plan lined up.
Sure.
Always, always, I've always had a plan B.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to allow myself to let that come naturally instead of forcing it.
Yeah.
Which is always difficult for me.
Yeah, I was
But
gonna say that's hard. That would be hard for me too. I'm like this goal-oriented person. I've always got to have
yeah,
something I'm working towards, and if I'm not working towards something, I feel lost.
yeah, or unworthy,
Yeah.
and it's just like, no, this is, sometimes I have to take a step back and go look at where you are today as opposed to where you were 5 years ago when
Sure.
your life was so different, and be really grateful for that. But also, it does kind of allow for what's naturally important to me to rise to the top. And I think really, I've been noticing over the past several months that women in leadership is important to me. And I'm still trying to figure out exactly how and what that means to me.
Sure.
But I feel so empowered by LeaderOne and all the people around me to be a leader.
Yeah.
And what does that mean in my next step in my life? I don't know, but I'm excited to continue to explore it.
Cool. That's awesome. I'm excited too. And if you get to that point and there's anything we can do here through Crazy Face Uno to use that platform at all, please let us know. We'd love to help you out in any way we can.
I appreciate that, and I'm so excited to see you following your passion and your dream. That's inspiring for me, truly.
Thank you.
So I hope you continue to
grow
with it.
Like we were talking before we got to recording, it's scary.
Yeah,
it's really scary. It's a lot, and I resonate a little bit with we talked about just a second ago, the goals, and I had a couple weeks ago I had this moment where Dana came home and she was like, what'd you do today? And I was like, shit, like I don't know. Like, like I wanted to be able to tell her, like, this is what I accomplished. This is what I did today. And I didn't have that. And it was the most, like, for me personally, that was just like painful, right? Like instant defense mechanism. Like, I got angry. It wasn't at her. I was just angry at myself. Like, how dare you, like, I feel so much of I put this own pressure on myself because I don't feel it from her, but I feel this pressure to be the best that I can with the time that I have because, she works very hard for what we have, I mean, I'm able to do what I'm doing because of her, and she's financially supporting me. She's supporting me emotionally and, all these different ways. And like, I want to be the best steward of that. And, and so I found myself just really upset and angry at the fact that I didn't have anything to tell her, that day. But at the same time, it's that trusting the process. It's taking that one step in front of the other and taking each day as it comes, being gentle with myself. And it's funny because, the week that came following that has led me to, kind of the future of where I want to take this venture of my of Crazy Face Uno. And it was that time that I realized that, I spent, a bulk of my day like just in my head and going through ideas and trying to filter out and trying to be creative and create. And I didn't have anything that came from that immediately, but it was in the days and weeks to follow that time was so important, and that I had to trust that process and understand that like, that was just how this had to go. And, again, just to be kind of gentle, but I'm excited to, stories I think are important, and everyone has one. And, the more we can learn about one another and realize we're not all that different. We're more alike than we are different. And we're more than our opinions and our religion and our political views or whatever that is. We're more than that. We're more than, where we live and what we do for work. But there's more to us. And I want to bring that out, and I want to share that. And I want the world to be able to see one another. And and I think that I think that that's powerful, and I think it's important. And so more to
Well, I
come.
think you're doing that. I really do.
Thank you.
I see it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Um, we'll kind of. I've got a few other questions I want to ask you, and then we can kind of, be like they'll wrap up in some ways. One of the things I had emailed you a question that I really like to ask people are, what are 3 things you would want someone to know about you? What are things that are important to you that if somebody met you for the first time, they'd be, this is what I want you to know about me.
Oh, I read that one, and that's always the toughest one for
I know.
me.
It's a tough question for sure. I don't even know like how I would answer it specifically,
Right?
but yeah, do your best. And if you don't come up with 3, that's fine.
No. Um, I think, uh, I guess I could look at it and say, well, what am I proud of?
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
and I'm proud of the fact that I've overcome,
Mm,
and really evolved into what I think is the real me. I've overcome tough financial experiences, some of
yeah.
the worst financial experiences I think that we as American citizens can go through.
Yeah.
I feel like I've gone through those and I've overcome. I've overcome, a difficult marriage and divorce,
Yeah.
and become a person that I never really thought that I would.
Yeah. Good for
And
you.
yeah, learn to accept myself and accept
Mm,
love from others, and love others in ways that I never really thought possible.
mm,
Um, and I feel really proud to have accomplished what I have in my career. It's still hard for me to say that without feeling weird about it. Maybe someday
yeah.
I'll I'll overcome that. But
Yeah. No, you should
yeah.
be what is it? Unabashful about your success. You're doing great.
Well, and it feels good, and it's a conglomerate of so many things.
Yeah.
And mostly it's the conglomerate of the people that have supported me,
Mm,
and my teammates who have made just the most impactful, wonderful team that could possibly be, in my opinion.
yeah.
And yeah, it's just what a cool thing to be a part of.
That is cool.
Hmm.
That is awesome. Um, Kind of going back to, your job at LeaderOne, what's some advice you would give people that are interested in buying a new home and kind of starting that process, and feel free to give them ways to get in touch with you as well. I want to be able to send people your direction if they're able.
Oh, cool! You're so thoughtful. I think about even when chatting with Dana for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
When she was thinking about buying a house,
Yeah.
and so many people feel the way she felt, uncertain and overwhelmed,
Mm-hmm.
and you kind of feel like there's some mystery behind it that you need to unravel before you can buy a home. And I think, when we sit down together, and I remember when you and Dana came into my office, and I can almost see this moment when someone goes from a place of fear and uncertainty to like, oh, I can do this,
Yeah.
and I will do it,
Yeah.
and it's so much easier than I ever imagined it could be.
Yeah.
Um,
Scary easy sometimes.
right, right, and like that's just such a cool moment to experience, and I see it happen so often. So to be able to bring that to anyone,
Yeah.
and I'm lucky enough not to just work with first time home buyers, but people looking to invest in real estate and make
Yeah.
it their livelihood. And when they get to see that I can do that too,
Mm-hmm.
and really take control of my life and my financial future, what an awesome gift to be able to give to people. So that's what we do. We try to do it to the highest level possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are based out of Minneapolis, but we work in Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Illinois, because I still on occasion get to help my buds out there in Chicago.
Nice.
And a couple other random states as well. But
Florida?
I personally am not in Florida right now, but I keep thinking I need to get my license in there, because more and more people are making the move. So smart.
Well, if you do,
winter is upon us.
Let us know.
Yeah. I appreciate that.
Cool. Yeah, and I know one thing that Dana really appreciated was it didn't feel like there was like pressure into, buying a house at the highest price. It was one of the questions that she appreciated most from you was, what do you feel comfortable paying? And basing your mortgage and what you're able to buy on that, and if you have some wiggle room and knowing what your parameters are is fine, but also knowing like, hey, this is what you feel comfortable with. This is kind of where you should start looking for your home. And I know that was something that really put her at ease and, just made her feel more confident and trust, you and your services, and didn't feel like it was a pressure to buy at the highest price.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, that's so cool. And I think going through that experience in 2008 just made me even more committed to that whole concept of, the last thing I want to see people do is overextend themselves to buy a home. And more, I think people are aware of that. And especially first-time home buyers, it's such a great place to be, to know your limits and then work around those instead of finding out where you can maximize things and then really struggling and having financial stress is the worst. It's the worst.
It is.
So we try to avoid that when all possible. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome, Kim. How can people find you? How can people get connected with you?
Yeah, so we have all sorts of ways that you can find us. I think the easiest way to catch us is by email, because I'm on the phone a lot or meeting with clients. My email address is Kim Burke, KimBurke @LeaderOne.com, and it's the number one. So Kim Burke @LeaderOne.com. Our website, mymortgagewithkim.com, and then of course our phone number 651-800-1501 rings to my cell phone, so it keeps us busy.
Awesome. So it's My Mortgage at Kim. With Kim.
mymortgagewithkim.com is our website.
Awesome. My Mortgage with Kim. And we'll make sure we plug that as well. Do you have an Instagram?
I do.
Through LeaderOne or?
Well, I do, but my amazing teammate Courtney manages our Facebook and our Instagram, and I couldn't even come to tell you what that is. She'll be so.
It's okay. We're gonna help her out, and we're gonna help you out, and we'll make sure that's linked and everything whenever we post the podcast. So.
Very cool.
Kim, is there anything you want to leave us with? Any parting words?
Just looking at what you're doing and so many of the people around us, truly what I feel like we all have in common is that we just refuse to give up. And what we predict our life might look like in 5 years is probably completely different than what it will be.
Yes.
But in all honesty, it's better. It's better than what we're predicting.
Yeah.
So, to just kind of open our minds and allow our life to be guided, and amazing things will happen.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kim.
I'm
going to close this out. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to the podcast with Kim Burke. Again, if you are interested in purchasing a home, getting a mortgage and you live in the Minnesota, Illinois, Wisconsin area, give her an email, shoot her an email, give her a call, visit her website, kimburke@leaderone.com, mymortgagewithkim.com, and see our post. We'll make sure to have that up. She's an amazing woman. She's an amazing individual that's doing some amazing things through LeaderOne Financial and mortgage lending. Remember, do good, make a difference, find ways to empower and love and celebrate those people in your life and the people you come across every day. We appreciate you out there. Love ya. Peace.